Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the FrostBytez Gaming Experience Part 3 of Pokemon Blue walkthrough. We are going to be heading into Route 3. How was that for a segue? I'm horrible at segues, and I apologize because I was really dumb. Route 3 doesn't have a whole lot going on besides a whole slew of trainers. I believe this first trainer actually just said, it's either him or the next one that we go against, says that he saw us in the Viridian Forest. Kind of a little cool thing, seeing other trainers that we once went against later on showing up to fight us again. But at the same time, I think this is the only time that happens besides when we run into Team Rocket, where a Team Rocket member will say, I believe, you first go against him in a hideout, and then later on, I believe it's in the Silphco building, he then states that he saw me at the hideout. I might be wrong on that as far as like where you see him, but I do remember there is a Rocket Grunt member that says that he recognizes you. Outside of that, there really, and your rival obviously, there really isn't a whole lot of trainers, not even just in this game, but in future games to my recollection, that state that, you know, they remember you from somewhere prior. You know, they kind of instead switch that with rematch battles via phone calls instead, where you just go back, find where they originally were, and they're a little bit stronger that time, and they get stronger every single time they call you for a rematch. Or in some cases, you just get kind of annoyed because it's like, why do I want to fight this guy for 50 EXP when I could do the Elite Four for, like, you know, the 20th time and still get, you know, a grand total of 10,000 EXP around all my Pokemon, you know? So kind of like a give and take sort of thing. I thought it was kind of cool. But that was about it. And the other thing, if I remember correctly, is that there is a youngster that you go against that makes a statement about like liking shorts because they're very comfy and easy to wear, something like that. And then in Gen 2, I do believe that when you run into him, he says something like, I still like shorts because they're still comfy and fun to wear. Something like that. I think it's this guy, and we're not going against him just yet anyway, so why am I even still talking? Whatever. I like little things like that, you know, they're kind of fun to play with, you know, but nothing too huge. But anyways, let's get this out of the way right now because we're in the middle of going against a bunch of trainers. That there is a patch of grass towards the end of Route 3 where not a huge change of Pokemon. You could run into really two new faces, but hey, you know, take what you can get. So, in this patch of grass at the very end of Route 3, you can run to a PIDGEY in the red and blue version, 50% chance on running into it. Rattata in the yellow version, 15% chance. SPEAROW, red-blue version, 40% chance with a 55% chance in the yellow version. Sandshrew, one of our new Pokemon that we can get, yellow version only, unfortunately, 15% chance of catching it. Jigglypuff, red-blue version only, 10% chance of catching it. And Mankey, once again, 15% chance in the yellow version only. A little bit interesting to see that in the yellow version, they offer you a Mankey to give you a good fighting style Pokemon. There really isn't a whole lot of normal type Pokemon to go against, and most of them are also part flying, so you don't really get super effective stats on them to my recollection. But I do remember some weird stuff in Gen 1. I think this is the guy that says it. Hang on. I like shorts, they're comfy and easy to wear. And then later on, again, in Gen 2, he says, hi, I still like shirts because they're still a little easy and comfy to wear, or something like that. Anyways, because yeah, in Gen 1, it's a little bit screwy how the super effective system kind of works sometimes. Also some weird moves like Karate Chop, I believe, is a normal move in Gen 1, and it doesn't get changed to a fighting move until Gen 2. But as well as that, there are some Pokemon that can only learn certain moves at certain levels in the red and blue version that they can learn only in the yellow version. There was, what was it? There was like, Charizard doesn't learn Fly in the red and blue version. I believe he can only learn in the yellow version, which threw me through a loop because when I do these, I kind of pre-prep who's gonna have what move throughout the entirety of the game, mostly because I need to divvy out the HMs. I don't really go my way and catch a Pokemon that's gonna be the one that has all the HMs with it, because then I keep having to switch out certain Pokemon with one another, and for certain dungeons, and it's just not really fun to do. I think it's just easier if every single Pokemon had one HM move, because generally when you're doing a walkthrough and you're not looking to be all that competitive with the team anyways, you really only need about 2 to 3 moves that are actually useful against gym leaders in the Elite Four. And that fourth move is really kind of pointless to have. And generally, I just use that for the HM move. Originally, that was supposed, you know, Fly was supposed to be for Charizard until, oh, wait, guess what? It's only in the yellow version he can learn Fly. He can't learn it in the red and blue version for whatever reason. So I do have to go my way to catch another flying style Pokemon to learn Fly. Whatever, it happens. But there are so many Pokemon that have that happen, and it's really quite annoying when it's like all in the same gen, but, you know, just different games, they can learn different moves. makes more sense with the yellow version because it's separated from the red-blue version, but, you know, then when you're quick viewing who can learn one move, you know, like I was, and then eventually it's like, oh, hey, guess what, actually, yeah, he can learn this in Gen 1, and then you go back, it's like, oh, but only in this version. It kind of screws everything up a little bit. Nothing too big, but whatever, what can you do? I do believe that in this part, I do get Nidorino. Just when you really have only 2 Pokemon in the get-go, you can kind of get really overpowered in level. You know, in a lot of cases, you know, they kind of expect you to have a full team at this point, especially in your first go-run, where they're all only about, like, maybe level 10 to 15, not level 17, you know, and whatnot. But that's what happens when you're doing it more as a walkthrough, and you know what you want ahead of time, and in some cases you gotta wait a while in order to get such Pokemon. You know, what can you do in those kind of situations? But again, Route 3, not a whole lot going on with it, just a whole slew of trainers, and again, this is kind of like, if I had to say it, I would probably say about 65 to 70% of the game is just fighting a whole bunch of trainers, which again is why I went on my way to cut out wild encounters in the first place. Why would I want to show off going against 2 wild Spearows in the grass if I'm going to tell you that you have a 40% chance to run to a Spearow anyways? And oh, by the way, we're going to be facing about, you know, 6 of them throughout the entirety of the run against so many, you know, Pokemon trainers. What are you going to do? So anyways, with that said, generally a lot of times when it comes to doing walkthroughs of Pokemon, because a lot of it is most of the same thing anyways, and once I get out of talking with my stats, what else are you going to talk about, sort of deal, other than talk about what, like, life's going on and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I do kind of want to go into a bit is I do know at this point, obviously, that the next generation of Pokemon, I heard, is going to be coming out for the Switch, which I think great. You know, I think it's about time that we've got a Pokemon-style game that's not Stadium or anything like that on a console, which also in its own right is a handheld. I really understood, especially growing up with Nintendo, that, you know, they really wanted kids to go out, make friends, you know, be more outside than inside when playing their games. And I commend them for that. You know, as someone that takes health and fitness very seriously, you know, it really is a struggle to see how many people do not try to keep themselves healthy. Now, I know that's a weird thing to talk about, especially when it comes to the fact that, hey, you know, just because you're playing Pokemon on like a Game Boy or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Advance SP, any of that stuff, and, you know, you'll get up like once a weekend to go to a friend to like trade Pokemon or battle them, you know, what does that to do with mostly anything? And yeah, I totally get what you're coming from, but at the same time, I also look back on the days where me and James, like in middle school and even in high school before we could drive, how many summers we would spend where we would just be outside playing on our handhelds, and half the time we would walk around town playing on our handhelds. Like, we were essentially doing Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go was even a thing. And I'm not saying that like, oh, we're so hip and cool because we were doing it and no one else was. I guarantee a lot of other kids were probably playing Pokemon while they're walking around town, you know, but it really feels like we're starting to lose a little bit of that. So, you know, but at the same time, you know, as much as I commend them for that, it's like, who cares? Most people, if they're going to be playing games anyways, aren't going to be going out and doing a whole lot of fitness stuff anyway, so might as well bring it on a console where it could look cool, and there's a whole bunch of things you could do it. Now, I did a whole entire video about the number of things that I would like to see in a Pokemon game, throwing out like a little bit of a, you know, self-promotion there. Well, more like selfish anyways, promotion, boom, right there. I think it was like 8 main things I talk about that I really wanted in Pokemon. And, you know, if you're interested, you like Pokemon, but you haven't seen that video yet, go ahead and give it a look. I found out later that there were some things that I wanted that kind of were experimented on, and who knows, there might be some things that they're actually going to throw into the new console generation of Pokemon. But really, one of the big things that I've always wanted to see when it comes to a Pokemon game is being able to pick my own starter. I'm sick of the whole entire fire, water, grass. You know, I kind of want more options, especially being a Sneasel lover. Like, Sneasel is my boy. I love Sneasel, and nothing hurts worse than knowing that I'm never going to go out of my way to have a Sneasel on my team until I've technically already beaten the game. The only game that I know where you can get a Sneasel earlier that's not traded is in Pokemon Crystal, where you can get in the Ice Cave. And even then, that's like almost to the end of the Johto region, so I don't feel like I've had him throughout the whole entire journey. I'd love to have myself a Sneasel from the very get-go, you know, and I'll take the repercussions of the fact that that could mean that the first couple of Pokemon I go against is a strong counter against me. I went on my way and hacked Pokemon Heart Gold to make sure I had a Sneasel from the get-go. Wow, I lost to a Jigglypuff. I don't remember that at all. Whatever, stuff happens. Anyways, there are going to be a number of times you're going to see me, you know, my Pokemon are going to faint. It ain't a perfect run by any means, so whatever. Especially when they're singing, you know, my ears to death and all that stuff. What can you do half the time? But, yeah, like, I would go against the bug person, and he would Fury Swipe me, and I would just, like, insta-die. I didn't care. I was like, cool, you know, A, it gives me a new challenge against Bugsy, and B, I don't care. It's a Sneasel. I love Sneasel. I want to use Sneasel more. And I think a lot of this could be, you know, helped out with the fact that, obviously, you know, and it's been said by numerous people, like branching paths sort of things, you know. I want to go this way first instead of this way. I don't want it to be like we have to go to Gym A, then to Gym B, then C, and go in a specific order. Gen 2 kind of did a little bit away with that. I don't remember of the future gens. I think I'll find out myself when I go on my way to play it, but whatever. We are coming close to ending this video, so that'll probably be a topic I'll go more into later on. Again, I might be bringing up some weird topics throughout these videos because half the time a lot of it's just me finding a bunch of trainers, and that can only be fun for so long. But obviously, why am I showcasing that I'm in a Pokemon Center when I said I'm pretty much going to be editing all them out? Well, we're going to have a little chat with this gentleman here. That's going to give us a nice deal of a Pokemon for $500, a Magikarp. And, you know, some people feel like, you know, when they first played this game, it's like, wow, what a ripoff, because Magikarp's actually kind of trash. He doesn't do anything. He just learned Splash. You know, when's it going to finally pay off? And then suddenly, level 20 Gyarados, it all pays off. Biggest reason why I'm picking him up, though, is because he is one of James's favorite Pokemon, one that he usually always goes for when it comes to playing Gen 1. So I figured, hey, just for you, bro, I'll get myself a Gyarados. That's going to be it for part 3, ladies and gentlemen. We all know what's coming up in part 4. We know that we can wait, but we're not going to. We're just going to dive right in. Catch you guys next time for Mountain Moon.